Hey there, I'm Riley. Let me give you a sneak peek into my world. From the time that I was a kid, I've been head over heels for botany. The magic of plants, the way they thrive and communicate with the world, made me curious. I come from a seriously loaded background. My father, Richard, is this real estate mogul who knows the ins and outs of buying and selling properties like the back of his hand. He's got properties scattered all over the country. Now, you'd think I had the silver spoon treatment growing up, right? Well, not exactly. Despite the wealth, my upbringing was anything but lavish. We lived in a modest house and I attended a public school. I was the nerdy kid in the back of the class with glasses so thick and a backpack heavy with more books than I could carry. When college rolled around, I made a pact with myself to be as independent as possible. Dad's money was there, but I wanted to earn my way through. I took on part-time jobs. And you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. It toughened me up and it made me appreciate the value of hard-earned dollars. Fast forward a few years and I decided to open a little flower shop after I completed my degree in botany. Of course, Dad was there to lend a helping hand, but let me tell you, it was nowhere near the extravagant investment you'd expect from a wealthy parent. He chipped in what he could and I rolled up my sleeves and did the rest. When I opened my little shop, everything changed. You see, it was there that I met Max, my husband. He was not just any customer, he was the very first one to walk through the door. Max and I got talking, and let me tell you, he had this charm that could make anyone's heart skip a beat. Max was in medical school, just starting his journey in the world of medicine. He had this endearing habit of showing up at my shop every weekend using the excuse of buying flowers. Before I knew it, he finally mustered up the courage to ask me out on a date. We chose a beautiful sunny day for our first outing, and Max surprised me with a lovely picnic. We started dating, and it didn't take long for Max to become a significant part of my life. Within a year, we decided to move in together. Our home became a blend of my floral creations and his medical textbooks. Within 2 years of our relationship, Max came to me with an unexpected, peculiar request. Riley, I need to talk to you about something that's been weighing on my mind. Of course, Max. You can talk to me about anything. You already know about my home situation, my mom and dad. I don't get along with them. I did everything I could to escape the household. They were abusive, both physically and emotionally. I remember one time when I got beaten up just because I accidentally spilled some juice on the living room carpet. It was terrifying, and it happened more than once. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Max. It must have been incredibly tough. I've used up all the money I had saved up for medical school. I thought it would be enough to cover 4 years, but it was not. The expenses are just too high. I'm so hesitant about taking any more money from my parents. Well, I was thinking, I know your dad's well off. Can you talk to him? You know me, and I never really asked my dad for such a big help. I am helpless. I might have to drop out. Maybe we can use all the money I earn from the shop to support you. The flower shop is thriving, and I have an idea. I will let go of a few employees and take on all the work myself. We won't have to pay extra salaries, and I'll work extra hours to boost our income. We'll get through this, I promise. Are you sure you can do this? I don't want to overburden you, honey. I believe in you, and trust me, I'm more than happy to do this for you. I threw myself into my work with everything I had. The next 2 years were a whirlwind of hard work and determination. I was at the shop from dawn till dusk, and often even longer. I had to make some tough decisions, and one of them was letting go of all my employees. It was a difficult choice, but I was determined to make this work. I found myself arranging flowers for birthday parties and weddings, often working late into the night to get everything just right. The shop became my life, and it was the place where I poured all my energy. I was not only covering our living expenses, but also paying the rent for the apartment that Max and I shared. I made sure the fridge was stocked with food and I kept a roof over our heads. All the while, I was also covering Max's tuition fees, ensuring he could pursue his dream of becoming a doctor. It was challenging, but I believed in us. So Max finally wrapped up med school and dove headfirst into his medical residency. It was a heck of a journey for him, but he did it. I was so darn proud I could have burst with joy. After Max finished his first year of residency, he surprised me with a ring. It wasn't all sparkly and extravagant, but that didn't matter one bit. It was the thought and the love behind it that counted. When he got down on one knee and popped the question, I was happy, of course. I said yes, and we sealed the deal with a hug and a kiss. Riley, I just want you to know that I am who I am today because of you. Thank you for keeping a roof over my head and helping me pay for my school tuition. You've been there for me when no one was, and I can't express how much that means to me. Max, it wasn't just me, it was your hard work and determination as well. We've been in this together, and I'm incredibly proud of everything you've achieved, babe. Now, we can both invest in a wedding, little by little, and host a small event. I love that idea, Max. It'll be perfect for us. I introduced Max to my mom and my dad, and they liked him. I didn't mention that I helped Max with his med school tuition because I wasn't sure how they'd react. I just wanted my parents to see Max as worthy of me. As for the wedding, we decided to invest in it together. I contributed a bit more since Max had used most of his earnings on the ring. It was a small, intimate event. Only a few of Max's friends showed up, but my entire family attended. It was a beautiful day in my eyes. Near the end of Max's residency, things began to change. He started hanging out with a different crowd. It was like he had joined a new club, and he wasn't the same Max I'd known before. First, he began to pay less attention to me. It felt like he was always trying to impress his newfound friends, constantly worried about how he looked in front of them. He had become more egoistic, probably because he was on his way to becoming a doctor, which was a big deal, but that ego began to drive a wedge between us. In those 4 years of marriage, I had thought we'd grow even closer. We had been through so much together, supporting each other's dreams, but Max was changing, and it was not for the better. We had always said we wouldn't think about having children until he had a stable job, and we stuck to that plan. I even froze my eggs to make sure we had options in the future. But as Max got more engrossed in his new life, I started wondering if he'd ever be ready for that kind of responsibility. My cousin had invited me to her wedding once. I was really looking forward to it, and I had already told Max to save the date. It was one of those family gatherings that I didn't want to miss. I reminded Max about the wedding several times. It was a big deal for me, and I wanted him to be there with me and be my +1, of course. On the day of the wedding, I told Max that we needed to leave for the event at 7. However, Max had other plans. He insisted on going out with one of his friends for some drinks to have some fun before the wedding. He promised me that he'd be back before 7. I reluctantly agreed, trusting his word. I was all dressed up, waiting for Max, but there was no sign of him. I called him multiple times, and he finally picked up. "Where are you? It's 8:30 already. We're late for the wedding." "I don't think I'll be coming back home tonight." "What do you mean?" "I'll just crash at one of my friends' places." "What about the wedding?" "I have a life now. First, I was drowned in my school and studies, but now that I actually have a life, you're dragging me to your family events? I don't want to go to your stupid cousin's wedding." "Max, you're out with your friends at the bar almost every weekend, getting drunk and having a good time. Can't you just spare one weekend to be my +1 at my cousin's wedding? You are my husband." "You are really suffocating me right now." "Suffocating?" Riley, just because you paid for my medical school doesn't mean you can take me anywhere with you as if I'm your pet dog. I need some independence. Max didn't come home that night. I didn't make it to the wedding either. I was devastated, wondering how he could say such hurtful things to me, especially considering all I'd done to support him. I had been his wings, helping him soar to new heights, and I couldn't understand why he felt suffocated. The next day, Max returned to the house in the afternoon. I was still asleep when he arrived. I woke up, and he was sitting right next to me. Riley, I'm really sorry about last night. I was too drunk and just let all that stuff spill out. I was out of my mind. I made a big mistake. Max, it's not just about last night. I don't want to feel suffocated, and I've always wanted to support you, but things have felt different lately. I know, I've been distant, Riley. It's just that with my medical residency, I felt like everything was slipping through my fingers. I was overwhelmed. Max, I want to be there for you through everything. We're a team, remember? Yes, I do. On that note, I'm getting my residency certificate next week, and then I can be a full-time doctor. I have a luncheon to attend, and everyone is going to be there. How about we go shopping and I get you a nice dress? You are the woman behind me, and you need to be there in style. Max, that sounds lovely. The day we've been working so hard for is finally here. Later that day, Max and I went shopping. It was supposed to be a fun outing, but I couldn't help but notice how strange he was acting. As we browsed through the stores, Max began making comments about the clothes I tried on. Don't wear this. This looks so cheap, like something from the clearance rack. You look ridiculous in that. Are you planning to join a circus or something? It felt as if he wanted to change me into someone I wasn't. I started feeling uncomfortable, not because of the dresses themselves, but because it seemed like Max was trying to mold me into a different person. The day of the luncheon had arrived, and there I was, donning my dress that Max had chosen for me. We reached the location, a fancy restaurant where Max's colleagues and friends from his medical residency had gathered. As we entered, Max began introducing me to his friends. I tried my best to be polite and put on a welcoming smile. It was very obvious that Max's attention was trying hard to impress his friends and colleagues, but then Max said something that drove me mad. Justin, this is my wife, Riley. Riley, meet Justin. Nice to meet you, Riley. Likewise, Justin. Well, Justin, I'm lucky to have a brilliant wife. Riley is a talented botanical scientist. Wow, that's impressive, Riley. Yeah, thank you, Justin. Yes, I've always been passionate about botany. You know, Justin, I always wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't want to burden my family, so I took on multiple jobs during my undergrad and medical school to support myself. My parents had their own financial struggles, and I didn't want to add to their worries. Medical school costs a fortune. You are a tough guy, taking on jobs, working under all that pressure. I could not believe all the lies Max was coming up with. I was furious, so I excused myself. The luncheon finally ended, and on the way back from the luncheon, I couldn't contain my frustration any longer. The urge to confront Max about his lies had been building within me like a simmering pot. I knew this was the moment to bring it to a boil. You said some things today that weren't true, Max. Oh, come on, Riley. I was just trying to fit in with my colleagues. You know how they are. But you lied about me and about how you paid for your medical school. Why didn't you mention my support? I didn't want to come across as dependent on you. It's my career, and I wanted them to see it that way. Okay. But why did you lie to them about my career? It's just that some of these people can be mean and judgmental. They're too smug about their achievements sometimes. What if they made fun of you? I wouldn't have liked that. They all seem nice. One of your friends even brought his girlfriend, who was a waitress. He didn't lie, did he? Every job is respectable. I'm just trying to protect you, Riley. We went out to celebrate Max's achievement that evening. He had finally received his certificate and was now a certified doctor. Despite the recent tensions, I didn't want this special day to be ruined. Maybe he had his reasons. Colleagues can be difficult to deal with sometimes, I thought to myself. Over dinner, I couldn't help but think of the perfect gift for Max to mark this significant milestone in his life. As we enjoyed our meal, an idea began to take shape in my mind. I thought about a property my dad owned, not a massive estate, but substantial enough. It had the potential to be transformed into a small yet functional hospital. We got home. Max was fast asleep, so I decided to call my dad. I need to ask you for a favor, Dad. Well, Max just got his medical certificate, and it's a huge accomplishment. I wanted to give him something special to mark the occasion. That's wonderful, Riley. What did you have in mind? I've been thinking about one of the properties you own. There's this one, not too big, but it could be turned into a modest hospital. I thought Max could run it and own it, and it would be a great way to celebrate his achievement. Riley, this is a big step. Are you sure about it? I am, Dad. I know it's significant, but I believe in Max, and I think he can make it a success. I can pay for it later, I promise. I don't have that kind of money right now. You've never asked me for anything this big, Riley, but you've always been so independent and determined. I'm proud of you, and I think this is a wonderful idea. Consider it a gift. Not just for Max, but for you too. Thank you, Dad. This means a lot to me. I couldn't contain the happiness within, so the next day, before leaving for work, I woke Max up and gave him the good news. I've arranged something special for you. Really? What is it? I've talked to my dad about one of the properties he owns. It's not huge, but it's perfect to turn into a small hospital. And I thought you could run it. It could be a step towards our future, Max. Riley, that's incredible. You did that for me? Just when I was stressed about what I'm going to do next? You are the best. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You don't have to thank me, Max. I love you. So, over the next 6 months, Max and I were often visiting the property. It was a project that was part surprise, part collaboration. The place was about halfway done, but needed some tweaks and renovations to transform it into a proper medical facility. We hired a construction crew, which my dad paid for, to work their magic. As the days rolled on, the transformation was incredible. What was once an empty space started taking shape as a hospital. New walls went up, fresh paint covered old surfaces, and medical equipment started finding its place. It was a lot of work, but we were determined to make it a reality. In just 6 months, the hospital was ready. It wasn't huge, it was just quite small, but it was a start, and we decided on a date for its inauguration. But just 2 days before the event, my world came crashing down. Riley, about the hospital opening, I think it would be better if you didn't come. People there shouldn't know that you're my wife. Max? What are you saying? I've been a part of this project from day one. I know, but your style, your choice of clothes, it's just not up to the standard of the people who'll be there. I need this event to go perfectly. Don't take it personally. You're asking me to hide who I am? To change my appearance just for your image? It's not just about my image, it's about the hospital's image. I've worked so hard for this. And so have I. We've worked hard together, Max. Don't you remember that? Riley, you need to understand. You were just a bored housewife / florist. You didn't have the capabilities for something like this. I was the one who had the potential to become a successful doctor. You just invested in me because you didn't have any other options. All my ex-colleagues will be there, and I've even reached out to my parents. You're just a flower girl, and I can't hide you anymore, not in front of my family. I need to prove to them that I'm successful and rub it in their face. They need to see that I did all of this on my own. Thanks for all of this, but if I'm being honest, I'm ashamed of you, so you better stay home or at your shop." I didn't utter a word. I just stormed out of the house. I couldn't believe the disrespect, the hurtful words Max had thrown at me. I found a spot in the park, sat down and let the tears flow. It was as if everything we had built together was crumbling before my eyes. But you know what? I couldn't take it anymore. It was enough. I had invested so much in Max, in us, and to be reduced to this, just a flower girl, was heartbreaking. I needed to put him in his place, to make him see that he was nothing without me. I just knew the right thing I needed to do. "Dad, please tell me you haven't signed off the property yet." "No, sweetheart, I haven't. Every signature that construction needed was waiting for me. You know that." "Thank goodness, Dad. I need to talk to you about something. Max has become unbearable. He's turned into such an egotist, and he said he's ashamed of me." "What do you mean, Riley?" "He thinks he's this big shot now because he's a certified doctor. He doesn't want me at his hospital's inauguration, doesn't want anyone to know I'm his wife. He's even insulted me for my choice of clothes." "Riley, I never thought Max would act this way." "I'm absolutely sure, Dad. He's lost sight of everything we've been through together, of the support I've given him." "What do you want to do, Riley?" "I swear to God I would punch him right in the face if he was here right now." "I want you to call Max and tell him you're not giving him the property. I need to put him in his place." "I understand, Riley. You deserve better. I'll call him now." After the conversation, I spent a bit more time at the park trying to gather my thoughts and emotions. Then I finally headed back home. The moment I walked through the front door, I could sense the shift in Max's demeanor. "Hey, sweetheart, where have you been? I was getting worried." "Why the sudden concern? It's only been a couple of hours." "I've had some time to think, and I want to make things right. The hospital is as much yours as it is mine, and you deserve to be the one who inaugurates it. It is our hospital, and you have done so much for me." "Sounds like my dad had a talk with you." "It's not just about that. I regret my words and actions. I'm truly sorry." "Max, you sure seemed sincere when you were insulting me. And what my dad mentioned, he meant it too. Thank goodness he hadn't signed it away to you already." "Riley, I don't want to lose this opportunity. I was overwhelmed and acted terribly. Please, call your dad and tell him this was a misunderstanding." "You wish, Max. You are so ungrateful and so full of yourself. I can't believe you used me all this time just to get to where you are, but I won't let you use me anymore. We are done." In the end, I indeed did not let him have his precious hospital. Nope. I left him and sent those divorce papers his way. It was like my 8 years of sacrifice and support meant nothing to him. I decided to stay with my parents for a while, catch my breath, figure out what I really wanted in life. As for Max, who knows what he's doing right now? I haven't kept tabs on him, and frankly, I don't want to. I gave nearly a decade of my life to a man who didn't appreciate it, and now it's time to rediscover who I am.